Hello. Apparently, I am Avory something, according to Lily.
Yeah, that's actually what I have her set on my phone, and I am also Lily.
Yeah, so Lily over here sent me a package, and instead of putting my last name on the package, which I did, send her my last name, she instead wrote Avery something.
I forgot about that because I didn't bother
God,
looking up your last name.
Christ. SMH. Anyway, welcome to the From the Closet podcast. Today we are covering Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. So fun, I guess. Today, obviously there will be spoilers for this movie. And if you want to avoid that, then you probably don't want to listen past, a couple of minutes from now. You can join us next week for our free movie of the month for February and Captain America Civil War. And you can join us for Leroy and Stitch sometime. However, the Monday after Civil War, we are going to be covering Zootopia. For technical reasons, I had to spin the wheel before we started recording.
Yay, Zootopia! I'm actually really excited for that.
Yeah, fun. Uh, so, there will be a link in the description below to the Just Watch page for this movie. Our link is to the US version of the site. However, if you use the Just Watch app, it will automatically redirect you to your country's page, and you will be able to change the country from the website page manually yourself if you need to. Also in the description, you will find a link to our Patreon where you'll be able to vote on future episodes of this show, as well as gain access to episodes of this show early. And early access to episodes of our sister show, Off the Shelf, which is about books. So yeah, there's that too. In the description below, there is also a link to Anchor.fm, which, on that page, there are links to every single platform that this podcast is on, as well as links to our Instagram and Twitter. And oh yeah, our sister show, the one that's about books, is exclusive to YouTube and Patreon. Bleh, I should have mentioned that. But anyway, get out of here if you want to avoid spoilers.
Actually, if you if you haven't watched this movie, you can literally just pause it if you have Disney Plus. Spend like the next hour, because that's all it takes, just an hour, and then you can come back.
Yeah,
So
it's a
today,
short movie.
yeah, so today we're covering my favorite another installment of my favorite series, animated Elvis Presley memorial.
Yeah. So, okay, I kind of want to go back and talk about what made the first movie as good as it was. Cuz
Did
the
you do
first
that the last
movie,
last movie ago?
no, I didn't.
Hmm.
So the first movie, the thing that made that movie special was how it perfectly synergized its plot with the character with the characters and their relationships with each other. And it's the characters that make that movie so strong. The plot on its own holds up well. It can stand on its own right, but it wouldn't be as good without these characters. Now, Stitch the movie was a more logical sequel than this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's it makes more sense to go the route of Jumba's other experiments for a sequel. However, this movie does the characters better.
I don't know. I definitely prefer the other movie that we covered than this one. It's for a lot of reasons. Um, So I think one of the biggest reasons is how a lot of the movie could have just been plain avoided. Like, why
Yeah,
wasn't Stitch just told, that he's running out of power, then assuming that
yeah,
just
but
not
you're talking about
doing
the
anything?
plot of the movie and not the characters. What I'm saying is like the way the characters like interact with each other, like particularly like Nani and Lilo, the way they interact with each other, um the way Stitch and Jumba interact. Uh, Really, the only character specific interactions that don't have anything to do with the plot of the movie itself. The only character interactions that I absolutely hated were the ones between Nani and David because that was just so
Oh, thank
stupid.
God. Yeah. I think his um I think it was actually we talked about this in our a similar thing that happened in our Thor the Dark World episode, or because I loved the character interactions, but the plot was just stupid. And that's how I feel here.
Yeah, so about the plot of this movie, so there's a couple of really, really large holes in it. One, Jumba only tells Pleakley, why not tell everyone? It would have avoided so many problems, like so many. And
Oh,
then there was
definitely.
another hole. There was another hole that, oh yeah, how come nobody fucking notices his eyes fucking glowing green? Like, it's not just that they turn green, they are literally glowing. They're emitting their own light. How does no one notice this?
I mean, I guess Jumba noticed it, kind of.
Jumba noticed
Also,
it, and then eventually Lilo would notice it. But otherwise, like, no, nobody noticed. And, like, I find that extremely questionable, especially since one of the first times it happens is literally in front of multiple other people in a dark room.
yes, this it's like they're trying to intentionally ignore it because it would cut the plot short. And
Yeah,
the
like,
movie's already as short as it is.
yeah. So, obviously, plot much better. The Stitch the movie had a much better plot, but I think this one, I think this one did its characters better. Lilo didn't feel as one dimensional as she was in Stitch the movie. She actually had her hobbies back,
Hmm.
which it was something I complained about in that movie.
Though, I feel like on the top of Leo's character, because of the problem we've already talked about, kind of acting like a dick to Stitch, because as like we already talked about, there is clearly something wrong with Stitch, but it's like, nope, completely ignoring.
Well, like for one, that's due to the writing, and like being like, oh yeah, she totally doesn't notice his eyes, and
Or
then
any of
also
like
part of
the
it,
glitching thing, because every time it happens, his eyes glow and
yeah,
then weird movements happen. Like, kind of
but
getting
yeah, and then
electrocuted.
like, but then like on top of that, there is the element that she is 7 years old, and I do feel like that's important.
That is true, but like, uh, I know it's not against her character, it's against the writing of this movie, but still, that just little part just irritated me a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I think it's more to do with the writers writing a bad plot. I want to
Hmm.
talk about a particular character interaction that I was like, yes, this is gorgeous and better than anything that they did in fucking Stitch the movie.
Okay
There,
then.
there's so throughout the movie, there's this thread of Lilo missing her mother, and that there was like that whole like bullying scene where everybody
Hmm.
was talking about how she doesn't have a mom, and then her hula instructor showed her a picture of her mom when she was a little kid, and like talked about how she won the hula competition, and Lilo gets it into her head that she has to win in order for her mom to be proud of her. And there's this beautiful moment between her and Nani where, like, Nani tells Lilo that their mom would be proud of her just for being herself. That's not what I
Hmm.
find beautiful about this. What I
Hmm.
find beautiful is that Lilo tells her the same thing. And you see that Nani needs that approval too, because she thanks Lilo for it. God, I think that is some brilliant character writing. I
I guess.
also still find. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
how Nani, a lot of the issues that Nani has is being covered up by Lilo, and that's kind of by choice. Nani doesn't want to extend herself to, show her own insecurities because she has to take care of Lilo.
Yeah, but like they wrote it in such a way where we can clearly see that she does have these insecurities,
Hmm.
and Lilo's
Definitely.
actually helping with it. Um,
Like, because
but she's get.
I can definitely
And then
see, like,
there's.
hmm,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
Like, Nani is saying, probably thinking, like, what if she's just not enough, right? Would her mom be disappointed in her of how she's been taking care of Lilo?
Yeah, and then there's also the conversation. I actually think this conversation was right before those like affirmations and stuff, where the something Nani said, and then Lilo said, "Well, it's not good enough," and Nani responds, "Don't you think I know that already?"
Oh, yeah. You just reminded me of that.
Yeah, I think these character moments between Lilo and Nani, I think they're what make this movie better than Stitch the movie. It still doesn't hold a candle to the original Lilo and Stitch.
So can
It
I just talk
just,
about how if you ordered it from a catalog the first time, couldn't you just order the same thing from the same catalog?
maybe they don't ship to Earth.
I mean, that would actually make sense. I mean, there has to be some sort of intergalactical thing like we buy this thing from this planet and we can ship it to anywhere, like how Japan imports work or exports. Yeah, Japan exports.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I did find this, like, I do find it a little bit interesting. I just think the way they executed this plot was just kind of haphazard and not really done super well. There's also the whole aspect of Stitch coming back to life and how it parallels the story that Lilo was using for the hula competition. Um, I feel like immediately segueing from him coming back into her performance, that was a good move. That was that was the nice way to tie those things together. And I was actually starting to get worried that they wouldn't showcase that parallel.
Hmm. That's good, though I will call it Deus Ex Machina.
It's not a Deus Ex Machina because there is setup to it. The definition of a Deus Ex Machina requires that there be no setup.
Hmm. Okay, it's something. I don't know what it is. Something that makes no sense. Definitely, like it's one of
I
those
will
moments
agree, it makes
where
no sense.
God, there has to be some term to call like main character crying on someone. It's like, oh, I'm back to life now, because that happens way too often.
Yeah. Remember Pokemon the first movie? Anyone?
Oh God,
Yeah, Ash
that's just
definitely
been
died.
overused way too much.
But yeah, so another thing, I do like the comedy, like at least some of the comedy in this movie. Um, in particular, there's the scene where like Stitch is holding back Lilo, and
Oh, I love
preventing
that
her from
moment.
attacking. Yeah, preventing her from attacking Myrtle Edmonds, and then Myrtle Edmonds starts like I can't remember exactly what she said, but it had to do with Lilo's mom, and Stitch was like, "Oh, okay," and lets her go.
I love
And
the point where
and then he
Lilo
starts
looked
taking
back at
pictures.
Stitch, and Stitch was just like, "Nah, this ain't it."
Yeah, and then like Stitch is literally taking pictures of the fight. And then when Lilo's getting in trouble, she turns to Stitch and is like, "Next time, flush the evidence."
I found
Just
that really funny. Though when it comes to the comedy of
yeah.
this, I would really call it hit or miss.
Yeah, I
At
mean,
least for me.
they also bring back the ice cream guy who still has the same energy as Cabbage Merchant, just without a signature line.
My cabbages.
Yeah,
Um. God. God damn
you
it.
were you were.
I actually had something. I was gonna say something, and I forgot. Damn. Oh well.
So yeah, so another weird thing with this movie is like the production and how things turned out, because it would seem that there was one
Hmm.
group of people who was like, said, "Hey, like you guys make a TV show," and then they also made both Stitch the movie and Leroy and Stitch. But then there was another group of people that was like, "Hey, you guys, you can make Lilo and Stitch too." Um, and these two teams didn't really seem to have interacted with each other, which is why this movie doesn't acknowledge any of the events of Stitch the movie at all.
And why the other movie would not
But
acknowledge any of this movie.
yeah, and that's the weird thing because this movie is supposed to take place before Stitch the movie.
So, realistically speaking, we basically have two timelines.
No, we have
This
one timeline. It's just that movies 2 and 3 are like did not release in chronological order.
then, like in chronological order, you would think everyone would know what happened in Stitch 2. Stitch 2 would happen
Yeah,
everything in
you
Stitch
would
3. I'm
yeah,
calling
you would
Stitch 2
think they'd
Stitch 3, by
know,
the way.
but yeah, except that Stitch 2 should realistically still be Stitch 2, and Stitch the movie should realistically be Stitch 3. Because that's where they are
Oh,
on the
wait, yeah,
timeline.
yeah. I don't know where I thought. I don't know what I thought. But yeah, that actually makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, this movie takes place before Stitch the movie. So it's kind of weird that neither movie acknowledges the other's existence. but
I
they're
wonder if the
both still
TV show
somehow
would
canon.
acknowledge this existence.
I don't know. Like we'll never find out because we're never watching it.
Well, I mean, if it did, then the
But
next
yeah,
movie probably would as well. Because we are covering that.
we are covering that, but I don't necessarily agree with the idea that just because the show acknowledged it, that the next movie has to acknowledge it too. That just seems meh.
I mean,
There's
it's
probably a lot of
probable.
stuff that happens
I'm
that
just,
they would, yeah.
yeah, I'm just saying it could be probable.
Well, we'll see either way. We're only 20 minutes in. Goddamn.
Oh shit.
So there,
Hmm. I don't have
yeah.
much I can even say on this movie unless we want to start talking about Elvis Presley.
I mean, I do like that they finally put a little less conversation into one of these movies because that's like one of his most popular songs.
Hmm. I need to start listening to more Elvis Presley.
Eh, not really that. Like, I'm not really that into his music, but I mean, it's something. It was just
That's
something I wanted to bring up, something I wanted to mention.
hmm. I don't know if I told you.
Because, like, the first movie, I. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you. So my new cable, streaming cable, actually has an Elvis Presley channel. That just made me thought about this movie.
Oh my god. that how do you have an entire how do they get entire channels dedicated to one person? This doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's only two. You know, that one and Bob Ross.
I mean, either way, it just seems kind of weird to me. Like, do you really have 24/7 content available?
I mean, Bob Ross made 400 episodes.
And what, you could get through all of those in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's why they just randomize. I mean, obviously, there's not like new content every day. He's dead, but you know.
Yeah, I just feel like, that kind of content doesn't really work for like a channel cuz like I don't know, to me like a channel should like be able to have some type of content for at least a year to justify its existence.
I mean, it's a nice, it's actually really nice background noise, and I've been trying to go to sleep with it.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like this movie could even be background noise if you wanted it to. It's really not bad. It's just the plot of this movie doesn't really work when you think about it.
Oh, absolutely. Which sadly, I have to think about the plot about this movie. It's my job. I
Yeah,
have to
that we
cover
both
this
barely
movie.
get paid for. Yeah, a job that we both barely get paid for. But I mean, if we'll just have to keep at it. Eventually, the money will add up at some point.
Hmm.
Leroy and Stitch. I for some reason I remember Leroy and Stitch being better than this
Hmm.
movie, which doesn't surprise me. But I also don't remember that much about the movie. But
Yeah,
I
obviously,
mean,
I've
Leroy's
never
going to be interesting.
watched it. God,
So, I mean, obviously, we already met 625 in Stitch the movie,
and then there's
and then we met Sparky in like there was Sparky Experiment 221 in Stitch the movie as well. Uh, And then, like, I know at some point throughout the series, Stitch gets a love interest named Angel. So I don't know if she appears in Leroy and Stitch. We'll have to
Probably.
see, I guess.
I was looking through the
But
entirety
yeah,
of Lilo and Stitch, the series, and first of all, I just want to know, how can you milk Lilo and Stitch for so much content? You know, you have 2 seasons, really long seasons, manga, anime, 4 movies. What the hell? How do
and
you?
still barely any content in Kingdom Hearts.
Damn, you're right.
Or Disney Infinity for that matter.
Eh, I believe Lilo got a character, not Lilo Stitch.
What is with Disney's hatred of Lilo? I mean, come on, we have Stitch the movie, not like Lilo isn't there. She's totally there. Main character too. And then you have Leroy and Stitch, which like if you actually look at like the poster or the box art for the movie, Lilo's name is there and it's crossed out and replaced with Leroy.
I mean, I'm gonna guess that Stitch probably got most of like the money just from like marketing. I can't even imagine how many Stitch plushies were sold.
I can imagine at least 5.
You have a weak imagination.
No, I have a technically the truth imagination.
Weak.
Says the person who can't remember my last name.
Actually, I do know your last name, which I'm not going to say on our podcast.
But regardless, I mean, I don't know. This movie, like, plot, meh. Character interactions, good, except for Nani and David. That shit was dumb. Uh, and then comedy, hit or miss. But when it hits, it really hits.
Definitely.
Because
And also a
honestly,
good
some of that
Elvis
shit
Presley cover.
some of that shit that they had in the comedy for this movie was like I honestly laughed harder at some of this stuff than I did in any of the stuff in Lilo and Stitch or Stitch the movie. So some of it's pretty good. And then I also really like the scene of like Stitch and Lilo like kind of fighting and then like Nani turns to them and it's like he's touching me. I'm no, wait, it was she's touching me. I'm not touching you. and, and I'm just like,
Oh god, that was funny.
yep, that's that. Little kids, yep, they actually do that. So it's free air. God, can't believe we
Um,
have free air nowadays. What is this, communism?
God damn it. God, how are we not? I swear to God, we've been rambling on for a while. How has it not been 30 minutes?
I mean, it's short. We're at a point now where even if we start wrapping things up, it will be over 30 minutes by the time we're done. So let's just go ahead and start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, frankly, I have no more fucks to give about this movie. It's not awful, but it's also not really good either.
You can literally edit, just like put in the Mindy stalling. You're saying that I'm stalling.
What was that from?
What? SpongeBob. 'Cause,
Oh, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I was like, who the fuck is Mindy in SpongeBob?
The movie we covered.
Yeah, like I don't know. That just completely left my brain. I was like, who the hell is Mindy? But yeah, so the critic ratings for this movie, IMDb gives this a 6.2 out of 10. Rotten
Mhm.
Tomatoes gives it 40%, and 87% of Google users like this movie. I think I want to go first today.
Oh, fancy. Okay.
Um, get Given the weak aspects of this movie, um, I can't give it I can't really give it a very high score, but I also don't particularly find it to be bad. It's just, it's fine. So I'm giving this movie a 6.5.
Hmm. I was struggling to figure out what to give this movie. Like, what could it even deserve? I mean, for one thing, thank God it was short. I don't think I could deal with an hour 40 minutes of that. Um.
Yeah,
So
I really appreciate. I think one thing to this movie's credit is that it doesn't overstay its welcome.
absolutely. So I think just 6.8 is completely justified.
All right. So with all that being said, I've been Avery. That's been Lily, and we will be seeing you.